The largest stone ever shaped by human hands isn't in Egypt. It isn't at Stonehenge, and it wasn't buried under the pyramids of Mexico. Instead, it's lying on its side in a quarry in eastern Lebanon, half sunk into the ground, its edges cut clean and smooth, still waiting for a journey it never took. It weighs an estimated 1,650 tons. And the strangest part isn't that it was left behind. The strangest part is that, going by the stones just like it a short walk away, someone fully intended to move it. To see why that should be impossible, you have to start at the temple it was cut for. This is Baalbek. The Romans called it Heliopolis, the city of the sun, and it held one of the grandest temple complexes anywhere in their empire. At the center stood the Temple of Jupiter, so enormous that its columns climbed almost 66 feet into the sky, the tallest in the entire classical world. 6 of them are still standing today. But the temple isn't the mystery. The mystery is what it was built on top of. Underneath those columns sits a platform, a huge raised foundation of stone. And built into the western face of that foundation are 3 blocks so large they've been given their own name, the Trilithon. Each one runs more than 60 feet long. They stand 14 feet tall and measure around 11 feet thick. And every single one weighs somewhere in the region of 800 tons. Here's a way to feel that number. A fully loaded passenger jet weighs less than 400 tons. Every one of these single blocks outweighs 2 of them, parked wing to wing. Now, a massive stone lying on the ground is one kind of challenge. But these stones aren't on the ground. The Trilithon sits in the second row of the wall, about 20 feet up from the base, which means these 800-ton blocks weren't just dragged into position and left. They were lifted, raised into the air, and then eased into place so precisely that 2,000 years later, you still can't slide the blade of a knife into the joints between them. Sit with that for a second. 3 stones, each one heavier than an airliner, cut from solid bedrock, hauled to the temple, raised 20 feet, and set together so tightly the seams almost vanish. And every bit of it was done without a single engine. No hydraulics, no steel cable, no diesel, just rope, timber, and thousands of people pulling together. Think about the moving alone. A block of 800 tons doesn't roll, and it doesn't slide easily. The friction is staggering. Put it on timber rollers, and the rollers splinter under the weight. Set it on a sledge, and you need a roadbed strong enough to carry a small building plus enough pulling power to overcome all of that dead weight at once. Every stage of it, the cutting, the hauling, the final lift, sits right at the outer limit of what muscle and simple machines can do. And somehow, for the stones in that wall, they pulled it off. To find out where the blocks came from, you leave the temple and walk about half a mile to an old limestone quarry. And this is where the story stops being merely impressive and starts getting genuinely hard to explain. Lying there in the rock is a block the locals call the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. One end is still fused to the bedrock, as if the men cutting it simply put down their tools one afternoon and never came back. It's even bigger than the stones in the temple wall. Its weight is estimated at around 1,000 tons. For years, people believed it was the largest worked stone anywhere on Earth. Then, in the summer of 2014, a team from the German Archaeological Institute, working with the Lebanese University, started digging around it. And underneath, partly hidden beneath the first, they uncovered another, bigger still. This new block stretched almost 65 feet long. Its narrow side had already been smoothed and finished, as if it were being made ready to travel. When the archaeologists worked out its weight, the number came back at roughly 1,650 tons. As far as anyone knows, It's the single largest stone ever carved by human beings anywhere on the planet in any century. And here's the detail that really matters. That smooth, finished face told the archaeologists something specific. It meant the block was meant to be moved and used whole, without ever being cut down further. So this wasn't a slip. It wasn't a stone that got too big by accident. Someone stood in front of 1,650 tons of solid limestone and made a plan to carry it away. So, could it actually have been done? This is where the ancient world and the modern one meet in a slightly uncomfortable way. Today, the biggest mobile crane on Earth can lift somewhere around 1,200 tons, and only in perfect conditions, with the load tucked in close. To handle the very heaviest of the Baalbek stones, you need one of a tiny handful of specialized lifting systems that exist anywhere in the world, machines that take crews of engineers days just to put together. The builders at Baalbek had none of it. And with rope, timber, ramps, and manpower, they didn't just imagine moving these stones. For the 800-ton blocks in the wall, they actually did it. This is usually the moment where stories about Baalbek take a hard turn. They'll tell you the stones are too perfect, too heavy, too old to be the work of ordinary people. That they have to be the wreckage of some lost civilization or something stranger still, carried here from somewhere far away. But that isn't what the evidence shows. And honestly, the truth is more interesting than the legend. The tool marks left in the quarry, the broken pottery buried in the debris, the Roman inscriptions carved right into the site, they all point to the same builders. This was Rome, at the peak of its power, starting around 27 BC and carrying on for the better part of 200 years. The stones aren't older than history, they're Roman. What's genuinely unresolved isn't the who, it's the how. There still isn't one agreed, tested explanation for exactly how a block of 800 tons was raised 20 feet into the air and locked into a wall using first-century technology. And that's not a gap dreamed up by conspiracy theorists. It's a real, open question that professional archaeologists admit to. The German team that went out to the quarry in 2014 went there partly to hunt for the answer, reading the marks left in the stone, trying to reconstruct the method. And a lot of it is still being worked out right now. There's one last question sitting underneath everything else. Why? If moving these stones pushed the builders to the very edge of what was possible, why cut them that big in the first place? The Romans were brilliant engineers. They knew exactly how to raise huge walls out of smaller, sensible blocks, and they did precisely that all across their empire. Yet here, at Heliopolis, they chose to work at a scale that carried them to the brink of failure, and they left the proof of that brink lying in the quarry unfinished for us to find. Maybe it was ambition. Maybe it was about honoring a god at the largest scale a human mind could picture. Or maybe it was simply that they could and they wanted the world to remember it. We may never know for certain. Here's what we do know. 2,000 years ago, without a single machine, people quarried, carried, and raised stones that would test the most powerful equipment on Earth today. And half a mile from the temple they built, the largest of those stones is still lying exactly where it was cut. A silent 1,600-ton reminder that we haven't fully explained what the ancient world was really capable of. If this made you look at the ancient world a little differently, do us a favor and tap that subscribe button, because we dig into a real, verified mystery like this one every week. Drop a comment and tell us what you think they were really trying to build out here. And thanks, as always, for watching.